Mei was just like, oh my goodness, just wide-eyed. He plays Mike so incredibly well because he is that person. Rothgar was like, okay, yeah, sure, everyone come on in. We get to go in and just try to make people laugh, and that's the whole objective of our day. That seems pretty wonderful.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Heart in Motion podcast. I'm so excited to welcome back to the podcast Amanda Wong. How are you doing, Amanda?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me back. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, I'm so glad you were able to come back and visit, and we get to talk about season 13. We've just wrapped it up,
Yes.
so lots of fun things to talk about. Curious, like what's been keeping you busy these last few months?
Oh, I have a dog now, and so the dog's been keeping me super busy. I've been doing random things like meal prepping, but in like Lego form. It's just, I don't even know what I've been doing. Oh, I've been traveling a little bit. I was in Asia and then I was in Australia and just having a really nice little break between seasons.
That's awesome. It's good that you get those opportunities. So you
Mhm.
mentioned Bunny. How's Bunny doing?
She's great. She's
Oh, she's right there.
yeah. Otherwise she'd be barking. I wanted to keep her kind of calm, but
Nice.
she's doing great. I've started to cut her hair myself, which I don't think is recommended, by anybody. But you know what? It's kind of fun and it keeps growing back, so we'll see how it
I love
goes.
that. We've seen
Yeah.
some pictures of Bunny on set. Do you get to take Bunny often to set?
Yeah, I take her with me every day. And
Yeah.
so in between scenes, I go check up on her and she has a blast. Like she loves being on set because I give her a lot of snacks. So on the or on the crafty truck, there's like a little bit of cheese, and she gets a little cheese tax. And in the morning when I have breakfast with catering, then I give her a little bit of breakfast too. And it's she likes it. She likes being there. Some Greek yogurt, a couple like a little bit, blueberries or something once in a while. So it's nice for her.
I've watched some of your amazing videos where you're cooking for you and you're cooking for Bunny. And the
Mhm.
first few times that I was watching them, I was watching you prep Bunny's meal and not knowing it was Bunny's meal. And I'm like, oh, that looks delicious. And then I'm like, the dog eats better than I do.
Aw. Well, it's so funny because every time I'm eating, she expects me to feed her too. It's so funny because I feel like she's got the palate of some of the same palate as me. Anything I eat, she's gonna want to eat, and she doesn't really refuse anything. I think if there's like one thing I think she doesn't eat, let me think. So far, nothing. She eats every single thing. And have you heard of durian? It's like the
No.
stinky fruit. Okay, it's a stinky fruit. It's from Southeast Asia, and she absolutely loves it. She loves like the stinkiest cheeses. She likes anything really, this girl. Yeah, and so I was like, okay, it'd be kind of cute and fun to make her my meals, but in
Yeah.
dog friendly and healthy
Yeah.
ways. And she just, yeah, gobbles it up. She really likes it.
So as long as you like do your research on what dogs shouldn't
Yeah.
eat, you will just try and see what Bunny likes and
Yeah, yeah. And then I'm also trying to like balance her meals too, like
yeah.
throw in some like omega 3s and stuff for her hair and some collagen like bone broth for her knees. But you know what? It's starting to make me eat healthier because then I'll be like, okay, Bunny can't have salt, I'll have no salt. And then I'll do like the unseasoned bone broths for her. And then I'm like, okay, I'll have some unseasoned bone broth and I'll use a little bit less salt for me. And so it's actually inadvertently making me
Hmm.
eat kind of better, I would say.
Yeah. Maybe I don't have a bunny. I don't have a dog. Maybe that's the ticket. I need to do
That's the
that just so
key.
I'll eat
That's the
better, right?
key. Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
use that.
Yeah,
Well, I'm so
totally.
excited to talk about season 13. I don't think you've had a chance
Yes.
to visit with anybody over the last few episodes. Is that right? Because we've had, yeah, I
No,
think.
yes, no, no, no. I spoke to the Hearties podcast or the Facebook group, and
Yeah.
that's you guys are the only ones I've spoken to this year.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
we had season finale just, I guess we're going on a week. What a great finale.
Hmm.
Love that everybody a lot of times we get to see the whole cast or the majority of the cast come back together in those last, if not last episode, the last couple of
Mhm.
episodes. We got a great harvest festival in this
Right.
finale, which was really fun to watch. I'm sure that it was a lot of work when you try to get that many cast members there. Watching some of the shots that Kristen pulled off the team and just, even watching Mei kind of walk through the crowd and all of that. What is that like for you when, you get to come back with everybody close to the end of the season and do moments like that?
I think those are the highlights of the season for all of us. I think we all miss and love each other so much that, sometimes what happens is we get kind of grouped up. I'm usually with Mike and or Faith and or May is at least, and so then I'm with Andrea and with Ben oftentimes, and I don't get to see the rest of the cast. And so when we get together, it those are like longer days, but we all really enjoy it because it almost feels like it's summer camp and we're like finally reunited and you know at that late stage of the filming season, it gets really cold, so we don't get to eat outside or anything like that. But we still like try to huddle in. I remember one of our days that we were all together. I always go find Rothgar and I'm like, "Do you want to have lunch?" And he's like, "Sure." And then I opened his door and then I'm like shouting out to Loretta, to Natasha, to Johanna. I'm like, "You guys want to have lunch with us?" And then so we all just pile up into Rothgar's trailer. And Rothgar was like, "Okay, yeah, sure, everyone come on in." And it's really nice. And we it's the trailers aren't made for so many people, but we all like sit
Hmm.
side by side on the
Hmm.
couches and fit a bunch of us. And someone gets booted to the ground, but then everyone's just like wanting to be together, and it feels, yeah, like a picnic or something.
I love that. I love that you guys
Yeah.
get to have those moments at the end of the season as you guys are wrapping.
Yeah.
When you're doing a scene like those Harvest Festival moments, you mentioned, they're long days of filming. So because they're
Mhm.
long days of filming and there's so many people involved, is there quite a bit of downtime where you can do stuff like that?
No, not really, because in that scene where I'm walking through, everyone kind of has to be there
Yeah,
because the beautiful thing about that shot is that it was almost meant to look like a one shot. Like,
yeah.
okay, we were following these people, and I think it ended up getting cut a little bit for timing purposes, but yeah, the idea was we're following me walk through, they're doing the ring toss, and then behind me they're doing the juggling, and then we go all the way to the end where Allie and Angela are serving apple cider with Jacob's character, and so it's kind of like we do that whole thing. and
Mhm.
and yeah, and then far in the back, then there's also Edie with Lucas, and then Lucas is doing the magician thing. So when it's like that and everyone is present, everyone in the shot, everyone actually has to stand there and be there, and it can't be grouped up, and everyone gets some downtown. That doesn't really happen so super
Yeah.
much. Yeah. And even in the shot with May and Mike serving Samantha Ferris's character, Maisie Hickam, the whole town is in the background, and we did film one side without everybody, but that takes maybe like 30 to an hour or something like that, and then everyone has to be there for the rest of it.
Got it.
Yeah.
So looking back on, that particular moment, do you have any highlights during that filming?
So Rothgar is really good at juggling. I don't know if you've seen any of those shots of him, like the behind the scenes. He's like juggling and he's eating he's like, "Give me an apple." And I'm like, "Okay," from the basket. So I give him an apple. And he's juggling the balls and the apples and he's eating it at the same time. And I'm like, that's so
Oh yeah.
impressive.
Yeah.
So there was that. I think it was so nice to have Vienna Angela
Yeah.
in the last, because we didn't get to see her super
Mhm.
much, and so it was kind of like a little reunion. And one thing though that you probably can't tell is that was the last day for most of us to film, and in the scene where I'm serving Maisie, I actually lose one of my earrings. And the tough part is there are no spares, and it was really muddy that day. So the earring was just lost in the ground, and we
Yeah.
couldn't find it. And so it was one of the last shots, thankfully. But it's not very obvious. But because I'm missing one earring, in when I'm seen on this side of my face, I have to switch the earring to that side.
Oh,
And then when I'm seen on this side, then we have to switch the earring back to this side. So when the camera's over my shoulder on this side, then I'm like ducking under the camera to put the earring in because I'm coming from another shot where it's on one ear, and so it's
yeah.
just a little bit chaotic for everybody. And then they gave me earrings that looked like the earrings I was wearing, but they weren't the same ones. And
Mm.
then one of those got lost too.
Oh,
So I don't know what was going on that day, but I was definitely stressing Barbara out.
I bet.
And my earrings were just going missing in the mud. It was not great for her.
So we're
And
missing two earrings, two different, right? Maybe
yeah.
they'll just show up like the missing medal that LJ is still
Yeah,
missing, right?
exactly. He'll just show up
Random.
when the rain stops and I don't know what, but yeah.
They showed up on the Hope Valley 1874 set and they've got it and
Exactly.
it's in the
They have
lost
it.
and found.
Yeah, yeah. They're like, we found this thing. It's part of like a treasure chest kind of thing, but then it's from the future. That'd be very
Yeah.
confusing.
Nice.
Have you seen the any bits of 1874?
I have. I've seen the first two episodes. I've actually got the third one ready to
Wow.
check out. So it's really enjoyable. And we got to meet baby Ned Yost in
Oh
episode
yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah. Great. Okay, okay. I didn't wasn't sure if that was a spoiler, but yeah. I was like, Ned, you should play your own grandfather.
That'd be great.
Right?
That would be great.
I actually initially said, "Hey Ned, you should play your own father." And he said, "You mean grandfather?" I'm like, "Grandfather, I just didn't want to be rude."
Yeah. Nice. That was good. That was good.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
did, the math person in me. I used to teach math, and the math
Mhm.
person in me is going, okay, so how old would that make Ned Yost? And it's just those little things where you try to start piecing things together. And I'm like, I thought it was great. I actually get to talk next week with Alfonso Moreno, and
Nice.
I'm going to ask him, like when you're trying to build a prequel, and how crazy the Hearties are about knowing details. Like, how do you pace it to where, like, we get this Ned Yost reveal, but like knowing when's the next time to actually just like, okay, we're just going to drop a little something. So it's kind of fun to see how this is all going to play out. It's fun.
Totally, totally. It's great.
Or
Yeah.
seeing the boarding house and we're like, that's the saloon. And, so anyway,
Yeah.
it's, it's,
I bet there are going to be a bunch of Easter eggs for the Hardee's. So yeah.
It's exciting.
Nice.
It's exciting.
Mhm.
So, in the finale, in that moment, what's been fun this season is kind of seeing that dynamic between um, Mike and Maisie and how Mike's kind of like stepped up his game as far as not, I wouldn't say
Mhm.
confronting her, but being a little bit more
Mhm.
like, I can speak into, your situations as well. And then May's there to kind of coach him and help him through that. And we get a great moment where, Lucas decides he's not going to run for governor again and kind of just says, Maisie, you're in, tag, you're it.
Mhm.
And we get a great moment where Mike just kind of calls her on it like this is a fear thing and you can do this. You were made for this. So what was
Mhm.
that like playing it from May's perspective, kind of watching Mike in that moment, but also being there to kind of support him?
Oh, it was really nice because I feel like this kind of growth in Mike has been going on for the last few seasons. And in the beginning, he was like very trepidatious and like, when his sister came, then he started shaking in his boots, that kind of energy. And May's only ever seen him in the capacity of being lovely, charming partner of hers. And so she's kind of understands where it comes from and like the history between them and even like Maisie says to May, she's like when baby Mike was born, everyone was so happy. It was like this the son had been revealed from the clouds or something like that. And I think that for May and all kudos to Samantha Ferris for playing it so well. I think in the moment, I then understand this is a woman whose whole life has been devoted to taking care of her family, and there was a lot of like empathy and warmth there. And it's not the same dynamic that siblings have with each other because sometimes siblings just don't see that, and they don't see the people that their sibling has become. And so May, being newer to the family, just kind of sees where everyone came from and where they are now, and so there's a lot of like warmth and I think it makes the dynamic between Maisie and May a little more vulnerable and open and truthful whereas with your siblings, there's so much unspoken, and you're like, you just get it, right?
Yeah.
And so the interactions and the relationship between May and Maisie versus Mike and Maisie are quite different. And so navigating that and seeing the growth and the openness that they have shared up till the end of the season was quite a journey for both of them. And I think that May just feels so warm about that, and feels, I'm a part of this family too, and I want to participate and you know
Hmm.
have us be the
Hmm.
best versions of ourselves. So I think it was super nice to allow Mike and Maisie to have the space to speak, and Mike to stand up to his sister and be like, no, you want to do this, so you should do this, and we're going to back you. And then May, allows her husband to say that, and then supports and adds warmth and wherever needed. So I think that's the role that they were playing, and I really like that.
Yeah, it was really, it's nice when you can see the growth in May, you can see the growth in Mike, but
Mhm.
also the two of them coming together and how much better they are when they're together. And then just the storyline bringing Maisie in this year and that dynamic was really fun for us to watch throughout the season. It was just a great storyline to follow. So,
Yeah, and I think also like there aren't a lot of prickly characters in Hope Valley, so you kind of have to insert it almost, because anyone who's in town has to be is almost just like, this is the most wonderful town, right? So everyone is kind to one another and welcoming and accepting, and so the tension almost has to come from externally
mhm.
sometimes,
Yeah.
and so the tension and the kind of sticky feelings do sometimes have to surface from somewhere.
Samantha Ferris plays it so well though, because even though she's got that prickly side to her and that tough exterior,
Yes,
you're still rooting for her, which is
absolutely.
fun for us. So,
Hmm.
okay, did you get to, you said that the Harvest Festival was kind of the wrap up for many of you. So were you around for that proposal?
So the proposal happened, filming wise, before the Harvest Festival, so we got to hear about it,
Got to
but
hear
we
about it.
weren't. Yeah, none of us were there on set except for the two of them, and I hear it was super scary up there.
I was shocked when I found out that Erin went up on the I'm like because I mean she has spoken freely about the Heights issue. So
Hmm.
to hear that she's doing that, I'm like, boy, she when I got to visit with here with Pascal and
Hmm.
Aaron in Kansas City, and we were trying to distinguish between Aaron Cahill and Aaron Krakow. So I just kind of gave her the nickname of rock star. And it was really funny because that moment happened, and I was like, that reel is happening after this, where I'm like, Krakow gets the rock star reel. It is happening for going up there, especially when we find out that Kevin was the one that was a little bit more apprehensive about being up there than she.
I didn't want to give it away in case you
I'll do
didn't
it.
know, but yeah, I was told that it was, even though Aaron is afraid of heights, it was Kevin who was more scaredy cat up there.
And I get it, when you're 6'3" and you don't have 6'3" to work with, I get it, one good
Exactly.
gust and man,
Totally.
it's
And there's no railing, right? And good thing the crew made it incredibly safe, and everyone was there and trying to make it the most safe environment. But it's, there wasn't a lot of space. There's no railing. There's a camera operator as well. And, there's so many things going on.
yeah. Well, what a crazy, I mean, that idea, I think Aaron maybe came up with that idea is what I hear. And what a fantastic way to do a proposal. So,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
of course, we like the ones in the, hazelnut field as well. Those
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You know what? Everyone's proposal looks different, and it's very suited for them.
and it's
So,
perfect for them. All
yeah.
right, let's go back to episode 2. I mean, I got to listen to the Heart to Hearties conversation that they had with you, and I'm just
Mhm.
laughing when we start talking about how May just jumped right in the middle of a fight. And I mean, I think everybody watching is like, I think May is working harder than anybody right now at putting
But
that fire out. And so it was fun dynamic for us to see, May hardcore in there. And we know how much you like the physicality. So what was that like shooting
yeah.
that moment?
Well, so I didn't know this at the time, but then Mike Roll, nudged the scripting and was like, "Doesn't she look badass?" And she was like, "Yeah, she does." But the thing is, I was just like, "I'm fighting fire. I'm gonna fight the fire," and so I'm
Yeah.
like barreling with the thing, and I don't think it even looked as impressive on camera because on the day we had actually filled up the barrels so full, and I kept running them back and forth, and I'm doing it in not the most comfy shoes, back
Yeah.
from the time, but yeah, and then so they're like, "Oh, we can just empty it out." I'm like, "No, we got to make this authentic. Like, let's fill up the barrels for me." And yeah, and then in the end, it was just like we're just like, "Okay, we're doing this for hours, and we're getting real sweaty." And I was like, also, I think we might have filmed that after some of the group scenes. And so my face was just so covered in soot that I had to justify how it got so sooty. So I kept on trying to like do this to like make it
Oh
seem
yeah.
like I was to make it seem like there was a reason my face was just covered. But I don't know if that even played in the end.
It worked. I mean, it really did. Like it looked like May's hardcore in there. She's giving it her best.
Yeah.
And honestly, it took us back a little bit to, we the story between May and Mike has really swung more in that domestic, they're there for
Yeah.
each other. But we've got to remember that May came into town pretty
Got a
tough,
horse.
got it
Yeah.
together on the horse, all about the
Hmm.
business. And so it gave us a little bit of a reminder about, what May's really made of. So it was fun for us to see.
Yeah, I want to do that kind of stuff more. I think that like, a lot of times it's kind of grueling to do the same physical stuff over and over again, but I don't really exercise that much. So that kind of is like my excuse to
Yeah.
do it. And I'm like, I want to do the exercising and the running and whatnot. I think it's kind of fun and it feels like a game for some reason.
Absolutely. We got to get May back on the horse too. It's been a while.
I know. I actually asked about that, and I was wanting to do some more horse stuff, and Mike Magnuson, our production coordinator, was like, "I don't think so," and I was like, "Why not?" And he was like, "Well, you and Mike are more like the comedy, like kind of comedic relief couple now, and if you were on a horse, the only reason is if you fell off of it, and I don't want you to fall off of a horse." And I was like, "Wow, man, there's so it'd be too serious or something if I was actually on a horse again."
But I don't, I think that you guys cover it all. Like we had some pretty, I mean, even if you think about there at the end of the season, it was such a nice bringing together of two storylines where we're trying to get the ring size, we'll call it the ring
Mhm.
caper. And at the same time, they found a way for you guys to have this sweet moment with the
Yeah,
pottery and with
yeah.
May's culture and heritage, and then just Mike kind of, wanting to learn more about her. We get
Mhm.
those dramatic beats from Mike and May as well.
Yeah, one thing I think is just so wonderful about Ben is that he plays Mike so incredibly well because he is that person. He's just so loving and so invested and interested in the people around him, and so it's not difficult for me it to be believable, and yeah, I think one thing that we really feel is hammered home in like our core playing Mike and May is that those two just really love each other, and there's absolutely no doubt about their affection and also about their commitment to each other. And so when bad things happen, it's still that we can conquer this together. We can, you know disagree about babies or something, but we are still in life together
Mhm.
and forever.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's the nice thing about the Mike and May dynamic.
Had some good moments where we've got to really, tap into learning more about May and her backstory. What
Mhm.
was that like when you found out in the script that we were going to get, there at the end a little bit, we've got the pottery thing going on and her getting to talk about, how she learned to do that. When you found
Mhm.
that in the script, what was that like?
Oh, it's nice. I think also I had a little bit of an inkling something was going to happen like that before because at the Hearties family reunion, I got a question from a lovely girl from Texas who's
Yes.
13. Yeah, and
Heard
so
about this.
yeah, and because of that, I'd asked our showrunner Joy ahead of time. I'm like, the question is whether or not there's going to be more of May's culture coming into season 13. And Joy was like, absolutely, it's going to be in this episode. And she's like, feel free to answer that in the question. And so I did. And yeah, and it was so nice to think of her and also kind of show a little bit more of my culture. And I think the beautiful thing is that it's everyone's so accepting and welcoming in Hope Valley as well
Mhm.
as on the set
Mhm.
that like, you know, the culture conversation is so
Mhm.
welcomed and so you know, just like everyone's just quite interested and it's very nice to see that pan out on TV.
Do they really lean on you for advice on what that should look and feel like?
Yeah, I think so. You know, especially when it came to the wedding, they're like, okay, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And with our Mike and May's date, it was there's some input on their costume, like the kind of the outfit that she was wearing, and there are certain things that I don't know because this is 100 years ago.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, the cultural sensitivity is very much there, and if there's anything that I don't feel comfortable with or I think should be changed or the language, then I'm super welcome to voice my opinion, and it's taken very well.
Got it. That's
Mhm.
cool. Yeah, it's so nice to have all of those different, perspectives, and we
Yeah.
learn even 100 years ago. So it's always fun for us to kind of. And this one was a nice surprise because it was tied to the ring caper, but at the same time, they still found a way to have these really sweet moments between Mike and May, which was fun for us to see. So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Mike also, or Ben had the opportunity to speak in so many languages this season. Yeah.
We need to make a board of all of the talents that Mike has that just keep popping up. I mean, have you ever counted the number of instruments that he plays
Oh,
also?
he plays so many, like the banjo, he sings, he has the harmonica, he plays so many things.
The
It's really
trumpet.
funny.
He's had the trumpet out too.
The funny thing is, like, Ben doesn't play these instruments. And so because it's, you know, the music is added later,
Yeah.
it's so funny because he's like just whistling into these old dusty instruments like the harmonica or something like that. And so what you don't hear is the we're all like pretending like it's great, but it's hilarious because it just sounds completely awful. It sounds like
Yeah.
cats screaming in the night.
Yeah.
It's yeah, so bad. But I think Aaron actually has a behind the scenes video
Nice.
of that somewhere.
Nice.
Yeah.
So did he nail the Mandarin the first time when you guys filmed that moment?
Well, so what we were doing was back and forth. I would send him voice notes on how to pronounce it. Yeah, and he did a great job with it.
Yeah.
And all of us were like, "Yeah, that sounds legit." Mhm.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
And he didn't have to sound good doing it because he's just, you
He's
know,
just trying.
learning.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he did a great job.
Yeah. It'll be fun to see what the next talent
Yeah,
is.
yeah, exactly, exactly. That maybe water skiing. It was there was like I think a question that was asked, like water skiing, was it invented in the 1920s? And Chris McNally was like, yes, because I can just imagine Mike Hickam doing it. And I'm like, that fits.
Oh man, you mentioned earlier, that dynamic between May and Maisie, and we
Mhm.
joke about the comedy side of Mike and Maisie, but we've been talking a little bit about the serious side. One of my favorite moments this season was when May, who has been all in, trying to do the relief with the
Mhm.
fire, she
Mhm.
finds the picture of Mikey.
Yeah.
And it's at the beginning, I don't want to say that it felt transactional, but I think May kind of knew like this is where Maisie and I are. But through that
Mhm.
conversation at the booth in the saloon, when she gives her that frame,
Yeah.
it definitely becomes so much more. And it's like this sister moment.
Mhm.
Really sweet. Loved it even watching, May reach across and kind of take her hand. Can you talk about making that moment?
Yeah, I think you know what May was doing a lot of the fire relief and in Benson Hills at the time and I think there was not only was it kind of yeah, because May and Maisie weren't super close in like the beginning of that
Yeah.
even scene. I think there was some apprehension about how Maisie might feel about May just going into her house.
Yeah.
And so I think that was the energy I was bringing in like, okay, so we're doing this relief stuff and you're all business, but I went into your house to see if there's anything I could save.
Yeah.
And so it was like out of a good place, but I don't know how you're going to receive it. And I think that was, because they weren't as familiar at the, like, just even right in the beginning. And it was kind of more of a polite sisterhood. They haven't gotten super close yet. They're May would always be like, tell your sister this thing.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
kind of that dynamic. And so May didn't have her own relationship, close one at least, with Maisie yet. And so I think she was just kind of unsure of how it would be received. And then throughout that conversation, I think that May really saw Maisie for basically the mother figure she was to Mike, and how she's put everyone else first. And I think that May, being so family oriented and also wanting to give so much just in general, I think she really related to that. And I think the two of them bonded over that moment. And when May goes, like, when I married Mike, I didn't just get a husband, I got five sisters. And I think that was the moment kind of when everything between them solidified into a real kinship.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it opened up an opportunity for that, to even be extended where she could stay there, she could be a part. It
Yeah.
was fun to see that dynamic where, May and Mike are trying to tell her, you can be here, aside from her, picking apart their wardrobe.
Yeah, yeah,
But and I like I said earlier, I think it just really helped us to see that softer side of her and that human side of her to where throughout the season we could also be rooting for her as well. So it was fun.
absolutely. And I think it required her having those human moments with May, because
Yeah.
who else is she going to really open up to like that?
Yeah.
Not necessarily her brother, and not the governor, and not the people of Benson Hills who expect her to be strong. So I think that relationship is very necessary
Hmm.
to, to really see all the facets of Maisie Hickam.
Yeah. And it didn't necessarily get rid of all of her tough exterior. We still have those moments, even
Yeah.
after that episode where, she still is who she is. She's cleaning out their wardrobe even when they don't want her to. She's
Yeah.
still, telling Mike what to do, but it provides an
Mhm.
opportunity once again for May to really just be there for Mike and build him up and say, go for it. I still laugh at, and I think that Ben, I don't remember where he shared this, that moment where she's out, where Maisie's out gardening, and Mike, who has been coached by May to like, you got to talk to her,
Yeah.
right? You got to
Right.
talk to her, and he
Yeah.
does. And oh, I know what it was. I think it was it was one of the writers. I did the writer interview for that one, and that
Mhm.
line at the end where Mike goes in and says, "I did it, May, I did it," but that was not actually scripted. Do you remember that moment? Because you probably weren't there for that scene, right?
I know I wasn't there for that scene. Is this the one where he's walking into the saloon?
So they're outside of Mike and May's house.
Uh-huh.
She's down gardening, and he's just telling her how it is. And
Yeah.
that he's been coached by May, like
Right,
you
right,
have
right,
got
right.
to talk to Maisie. And
Yeah.
so he's laying it out. And then at one point he kind of throws it out there, but then he kind of takes it back, like, if
Hmm,
that's okay,
hmm,
and
hmm,
then
hmm.
he sticks to his guns. And as he walks in, and the writer said, no, Ben totally improved that line where he was
Yeah,
like, May, I did it.
the reason why I have no clue is because it wasn't in the script, so I never read it. So I didn't
Yeah.
even know that happened. So
Yeah.
I'm like, what? What
Yeah.
scene are we talking about? But that's so Ben. Ben like adds so much texture to the scenes and stuff. And he actually has written a lot of his own lines too.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say a majority, but there are a few lines where, you know, one of the sweetest ones he'd said is, "Your voice is my favorite one," or something. He wrote that himself, and he's written a bunch of different lines. And he adds a lot of moments and little flavoring and coloring in his portrayal of Mike, and it's
Yeah.
wonderful to see. Yeah.
Is it when the improv is more on the funny side? Is it easy, hard, fun for you to like keep a straight face in those moments?
Sometimes he does it and he tests me and he tries to make me laugh when it's a serious scene. So there were, even in the previous season with the insulin, or I guess 2 seasons ago now, when I run into Dr. Carter's office and I'm like, okay, this is what's happening. There's this new thing in Toronto. It's called insulin. He didn't have any lines, but then he like whispered into my ear something really funny, and the whole crew saw. And then I'm like still having to be like, and so he does that, but he usually saves it for either the first take or the last take, so that he doesn't ruin anything. But
Yeah.
he does do that, and most of the time I just roll my eyes at him, but sometimes we just crack up laughing. And I think that's the nice thing about the two of our characters, because we literally think we've got the best gig, the two of us. We get to go in and just try to make people laugh, and that's the whole objective of our day. It seems pretty wonderful.
You've got to work with Ben for what, three-ish? I mean,
Yeah.
seasons more closely, most
Yeah.
of so many of your scenes are together. What's something that you've learned acting wise working with Ben?
What have I learned acting wise working with Ben? You know what? I think that before I stick more closely to the script,
Mm,
and I was very, like studious student style.
yeah.
I think that Ben's given me, as a wonderful scene partner, the freedom to riff with him, and just like the feeling that, I think in the beginning I felt okay, I just want to do my best. And he really let settle into my bones this feeling of you belong here, and you can bring you into May. And so I think that that's the most wonderful thing that Ben kind of gave me in terms of the gift of acting.
Think we hear so much of that. It's like a level of trust even among
Yeah.
you guys as a cast where it's like you do so well. It translates so well to us because there is that level of trust and encouragement and everybody's got everybody's back and it's something that's very exciting for us to see as well.
Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you.
Yeah. So we got a fun moment between Mike and May in the berry stomping. Um,
Yeah.
which was also so fun to see. I hear that you enjoyed it maybe a little bit more than Ben did.
Yeah, yeah. The texture of the jam, it's kind of fun to me. It was kind of like, when you're a kid and you're playing at the beach and you make the mud patties.
Oh yeah.
That's what it feels like,
Yeah.
and you're just like sloshing your feet around in the patties. So that texture is kind of fun to me. It's kind of squishy and like gooey. But yeah, Ben was really grossed out by that texture. He thought it was really gross. And so um yeah, I don't know. I kind of was like swimming around, kicking my legs, and it was
Yeah.
pooling on the sides, and he was like, don't get them into our boots. And so yeah, I definitely had more fun than he did. And I got them into our boots, and he was not happy about that. He was like, Amanda, and he's like scooping it out of his goulashes. Is you know,
I'm
part of
guessing
it, I
maybe
guess.
Ben doesn't like the sloppy necessarily because there were a couple of conversations that happened when they were in Kansas City. One was about him getting the oil all over him earlier in the season, earlier in the
Yes.
series where he wasn't super fond of it. And then somebody was talking about his sandwiches and, he was commenting about like not liking a sloppy sandwich. So it just must be the gooey stuff that he's not super fond of. So.
I never thought about that, but potentially, yeah, maybe I'm like thinking, has Ben ever like gotten dirty on set or around? I don't think so. And yeah, I never really thought about it, but there's one smell that Ben hates the most out of any smell in the world, and it's the smell of sorry, I'm just gonna grab my dog. She's just trying to trying to make a mess here. It's the smell of, I think it's maybe like something is burning, and sometimes, on a farm, it's, I think, the waste or something sometimes gets burnt.
Oh yeah.
But that is Ben's least favorite smell in the world. And he, every single time he smells it, he's like, this is the worst smell in the world. And I was like, okay. And then as devil's advocate, I'm like, would you rather be cold or would you rather smell the smell? He's like, I'd rather be cold. I'm like, would you rather be really hot or smell the smell? I'd rather be really hot. Would you rather be surrounded by 1,000 flies or smell the smell? He's like, anything but the
But
smell.
the
So I'm
smell.
thinking, yeah, Ben is probably, yeah, he doesn't like the like maybe icky smells and feelings and textures.
Yeah,
I never thought about that, but yeah.
could be.
Yeah.
Did you have any idea, might get stung by the bee? And then we get this massive, like I can imagine, makeup and what they had to come up with. Did you have any idea it was going to look like that?
No, the makeup did such a wonderful job with that that the kids were so grossed out that they would just come up to me like, disgusting, and they would run off. And I just thought that that was so funny. But my and I shouldn't have done this, but I would always try to make him laugh because every time he laughs, he'd be like, "Don't make me laugh," because then it would start to peel at the lips. So my goal was to make him laugh, but then and then he'd have to get it like touched up, and it was kind of like gross looking towards the end because when the glue was lifting, it was like this white, like crispy layer in his mouth. And so I don't think he enjoyed having it on because it was probably quite uncomfortable. And when you put on a face mask and you try not to laugh, it
Oh
looked
yeah,
like that.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So makeup just did a wonderful job with that, and he looked so hilarious. And yeah, he tried to kiss me with he added like a bit where he was like trying to kiss me with his huge lip, and I was just like, but I think the moment was not about us, so the
Yeah.
camera panned
Yeah.
away,
Yeah.
but it was hilarious, and we did it every single time, and we just kept laughing. But I don't even think the camera was like far away. I don't even know where it was.
Well, and we get this little vulnerable moment where he's so medicated that he starts talking about all of the kids that
Yes.
he wants. Your timing on, and I love one of the things I really love about When Calls the Heart and this cast is you guys are so good at these just little subtle moves that just really just kind of top the scene off. And I don't even know if it was intentional on your part or not, but May's reaction, like you have this facial expression when he's doing this that it cracks me up every time. I don't even know if you realize it. Do you remember that moment?
I don't even know what facial expression I was making. What was
It
it?
was
What did I
it was
say?
just so good. It was just in that moment of like no, like that is not, and go back and watch it because it was so
Okay.
funny to watch. And I thought sometimes the timing that you guys have, and maybe you're just so in the moment that it's just what naturally comes. But it was a
Hmm.
favorite moment for me between Mike and May, even May's
Oh.
reaction to that. So it was,
Yeah, he wanted like 6 kids or something.
yeah,
Yeah,
crazy.
it's
Not in the
crazy.
cards for them. You need to write Bunny in. Bunny could be that.
Yeah, I wanted to. I wanted to. We actually thought about it because, with I think we were thinking of having Lily, have a dog, get a dog, because Chloe
Mm,
just loves Bunny and was like, "Can I get a dog on the show?" And we were considering whether or not it would be a good move for Mike and May to have something to take care of before having children. But I don't know. I don't actually know what's going to happen in the future, but who knows? I think it's still in the air for the two of them. I don't I'm not writing out the possibility of them having children at all,
yeah.
especially with all the children that are going to be entering the One Calls the Heart family. Maybe we can just use one of the ones that are already here, and then we can have them be around their parents.
Yeah. Who
Yeah,
knows, right?
yeah. So we'll see.
You've kind of been given a little bit of a, not, I wouldn't say a hard time, but it was noticeable May's reaction to Fernando when
Oh yes.
Fernando approaches the ladies sitting at the
Mhm.
table and where everybody's a bit enamored by his aura in their own little special way. Can you talk about like making that moment? It was fun to see the girls back together, but and
Totally,
with
totally.
Miranda and and having
Yeah,
Edie kind of come into that mix. We miss Fiona, obviously,
yeah,
but
yeah.
having Edie in that moment and then Fernando show up and everybody just kind of being in awe of Fernando.
Yeah. So yeah, that was one of the I think the first moment of Edie, Faith, and May being together. And even initially when Edie's like, could you like, I have something to talk about or something. And they're like, oh, do you want more coffee or do you want more tea? Do you want a treat or something? The Faith and May don't even expect that to be the thing that she wants to discuss, but at the same time are intrigued. Maybe it's
Mhm.
gossip, maybe it's something. So it was fun to play out that dynamic and have her be kind of more incorporated into the rest of the town.
Yeah.
And I think that because the dynamics between all of the dogs, sorry, I just put the dog on the couch. All of the women and Fernando are so different. Edie and him dated, so she's like, I cannot stand his dramatic personality. And then, Faith is the single one. So maybe there's like interest that could potentially happen there, but she can't give it away too quickly. And then with May is happily married. She can do whatever. If she wants to drink the Kool-Aid, she can drink the Kool-Aid. And um, so I really leaned into that because I think that if I were to pull back, then it wouldn't make him seem as charming
Yes.
as he could,
Yeah.
and Edie wasn't gonna buy it, and Faith couldn't, be as invested, but May could be. And so May was just like, "Oh my goodness," and just wide-eyed. Blah, blah, blah. But I didn't realize that lots of people went up to Ben after and was like, "You need to watch out for May. She's burning the candle for Fernando." Yeah. And it
Did
was
they
fun
have
to
it?
play that too,
Yeah.
because May wasn't that with Nathan, and wasn't like that with Mike, and so for her just to be all googly eyed, it was just
Yeah.
like a fun little thing to do.
It was fun to see May in this role where she's just a little
Yes.
bit like, you know, I think it was kind of like it's just kind of what Fernando does. He just kind of sucks everybody in, which I think even when
Yeah.
they do the silent film and the light comes down and shines on, this is what I love about Mike and May is that they, like you said earlier, how much they just love each other, but they're each other's biggest cheerleader. And there's this
Mhm.
moment where Nathan and Elizabeth, they fail at it
Yes, yes.
and they're trying to figure out who they're going to put in next. And of course, Mike is ready to go in. He's ready for it. And
Mhm.
and May's reaction, was it written this way? Because it's like you immediately like, yeah, put Mike in, put Mike in. It was
No, it wasn't
fun.
added.
It
Yeah.
was so good. Love seeing that moment again where May's just ready to, it's time for Mike to go in. So
Yeah, yeah. No, that wasn't written in, but yeah, it just, I think in the previous seasons, there was like a one moment where he was trying to sing a solo or something oh no, he was auditioning to be in The Importance of Being Earnest, right?
yeah,
And it was scripted that May was like, Don't do it, don't do that, da da da." And then, in this version, I was just like, you know what? May wants him to do everything he wants to do. We're
Mhm.
not being bashful or shy anymore. Go for it. That's my man up there, and he's gonna be the best silent film lead. But yeah, the funny thing about the Fernando like light whatever
Yeah,
is because when the camera is on us, right, you don't know what it's capturing, and then I
yeah,
think the editor in the end just chooses which one best fits the story, but everyone's living their life as though this is them, right?
yeah,
And so when it was pointed at Ben was like, me. And then when it was pointed at me, I was like, oh my gosh, it's me. So everyone had oh, he's looking at me, he's shining the light on me.
yeah,
But then it was really about Pascal, Rosemary's character, being like, oh, he's the one. And
yeah.
the light wasn't about anyone. And so I think it would have detracted if you got to see Ben and May being like, he's choosing me, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm glad they ended up going with the version that they went with, but it was just really quite funny. And there are iterations where I thought it was me, and then Ben looks at me and is like, "Is it her?" And so we just do different things each time, and the editor just chooses in the end what best fits the story.
I don't even know how you were able to keep a straight face fixing Ned's wig.
Oh yeah. You know, Rothgar loved the wig. He just loved it. He's been wanting to have this be in the show for so long. Even when I first met him, Rothgar and I just like immediately hit it off. I don't know why, we just got along so well. And he was like, "Have you seen me with hair?" And I'm like, "Rothgar, you show this photo to me like every other week. I've seen it a million times. Yes, I've seen you with hair." He's like, "But it looks so nice, right?" I'm like, "I'm working on it. I think everyone's asking if you could have hair in the show." I'm like, "I'm pitching it. I think everyone else is too. Don't worry, we got you." And he's like, "Yeah, yeah. Can we all just like work on getting me hair in the show?" And so one of the ideas I pitched was that Mei makes tincture, because back in the day, the pharmacist kind of
Yes.
makes all these cure-alls.
Yeah.
So the one that I'd suggest is like she makes a cure-all for 1 second. Yeah, she's playing with this. Here, go put it back. One of the things that I suggested was that May makes a cure-all for hair regrowth, and
Yeah.
so I was like, it'd be funny if Ned and the pastor both grow long, luscious locks. But I don't think that that's realistic for the time.
Well, and he even got to have it in that next episode where there's, I don't know if you,
Yes, that was so funny. That was so good.
like he got to hang on to for just a little bit longer. And the
Yeah,
thing is
yeah.
like even the color of it, I'm like, it's not like, I'm like, that's the color.
But I think that was on purpose because it
Yes.
couldn't look too real. And
No, it was
yeah,
perfect.
yeah, I like that flow mo moment so much. I'm so glad they got to play that. And Rothgar is so funny and interesting to watch. I feel like he's always doing something
Oh
in the
yeah.
background. I think they're if you see him in the background, he's always doing something. He's
Oh
creating
yeah.
some sort of story. And Loretta as well. I think there's Pascal had said that her one of her favorite moments on set was when Rothgar and Ben and her were just at like kind of goofing off in the back and improving.
She had talked about that at HFR. And so,
Yeah.
but she didn't say when it was. We just knew,
Mhm.
it's going to be coming. And I remember watching that episode and I'm just watching it the first time through, just enjoying the episode. And then, I'll go back, especially if I've got like a screener because I'm going to be doing an interview. And I had a screener because I was going to be interviewing Pascal.
Mhm.
And I'm watching it back through and I kind of did a double take and I rewound it and I went, that's the moment right there. You just see him in the background kind of doing this. But
Yeah.
I gotta say, having done several of these When Calls the Heart interviews, it's like everybody wants more scenes with Rothgar. So he's got to be like, everybody's best friend on set. And he's so talented. I mean, he can do
Yes,
the
absolutely.
comedy and then he swings this season, this sweet moment when Allie and Nathan are looking at the rings and Ned gets all teary-eyed and I'm like, your secondary cast, primary cast, so talented, but I mean, just Ben or Ned just cracks me up, and Rothgar just does
Mhm.
such a fantastic job.
He does. He really does do such a great job. Yeah, and he is everyone's friend. I think, on those long days where, it's 6 o'clock in the morning and when we've just filmed for forever, um, Rothgar never loses steam. He's just, sometimes we're like, wow, it's really cold or we're really tired. And then Rothgar comes around and goes, guys, but we're living the dream.
Yeah,
And like, everyone wants to do this. So
yeah.
buck up kind of thing. And yeah, and he always reminds us like of the gift of it. And not that we don't know it, but sometimes when we're tired, he's just like, but isn't it good feeling tired because you're doing something you like, right? So yeah, I think there was one moment where it was only this season and it's been 13 seasons and Rothgar had said something like, wow, I'm tired. And Ben was like, Rothgar?
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is super different.
Yeah.
You've never expressed like being exhausted ever, and yeah. So Rothgar is always that like happy go lucky person, and everyone loves working with him.
That's amazing.
Hmm.
Okay, so this season, you got the comedic beats, we've got
Hmm.
the more serious beats, we've got the challenging soot all over the face, stepping in the
Yeah.
berries. Do you have favorite moments like that when you're filming on When Calls the Heart, or is it nice just to kind of swing the gamut?
Yeah, I think one of the things about One Calls is you don't exactly know what's going to happen. So I think especially with Mike and May, actually with all of the characters, I think everyone's got moments of drama and seriousness, and also like levity and
Yeah,
comedy, right? I think Rothgar was a great example just now,
yeah.
and you see that with you know Elizabeth and Nathan. They've got the moments of levity and seriousness. You see that with Jada and Jacob. They got so everyone's. I think one of the things that makes this show so enjoyable to watch is that everyone's like kind of flushed out as individuals. They're kind
Yeah.
of rounded, and so. Yeah, one of the things that's so nice is that you do get to do all these different things, and going to work every day feels quite different. I'm not in the pharmacy every day, but like May's got this smart side of her, and she's got the sensitive side of her with Maisie, and then she also has the wholesome kind of like cute sweet side that she only shows really Mike, and then she's got the girlhood side with Fiona and with Faith, and so it's just so nice to be able to do all of the things, and so I wouldn't even say there's even any one particular moment that is my favorite scene.
Hmm.
I don't
Hmm.
think there's any favorite scene, but it's just like, yeah, just the cast, just
Yeah.
being around them
Yeah.
is my favorite. Hmm.
There was a lot of like moments between Mike and May this season, more of that domestic side. We didn't get to see as much of May, doing the pharmacy,
Yeah.
doing that kind of world. Knowing that we've got season 14 coming, is that something like, would you like to see more of that? Or are you just kind of like along for the ride because you're going to get a good variety?
Yeah, I'm kind of along for the ride. I enjoy doing the pharmacy stuff. I think it's a really cool set to be in, and I think
Yeah.
it'd be really cute for the teens to start to work in the sort of fountain pharmacy and or help out or something like that, get a part-time job. I think that that's kind of nice. But I think that one of the limits of the pharmacy, while it looks beautiful, it's really difficult to shoot in because it's so small.
Is it like the
And
smallest room, the smallest place to shoot?
I think it's one of, yeah, if not the smallest, yeah. And
Yeah.
so it's while it looks beautiful, some of the things move and some of the things don't move. And so we're really working with limited space here. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why we don't shoot more there.
Hmm. Do you have ideas in your mind about season 14, things that you might like to see with May?
Do I have any ideas? I don't super, but I loved science growing up, and I thought it'd kind of cute to do like a science fair and invention day with Ned and with the class, and I
Yeah.
think that that'd be really fun, and just doing. I think science looks very beautiful on camera,
Yeah.
or it can, if you have like the baking soda and vinegar thing, or whatnot. I think it could just be a nice visual thing, but it wouldn't probably. I have no idea. I suggested like animals, like a pig or something one time, and actually Joy was really into that idea. But I'm not. I leave it to
Yeah.
the powers of When Calls the Heart to decide.
If it's about time for Ned to have another invention. So maybe
Yes.
he has to get with May and use
Yeah.
what her background, like the two of them, and then you get some moments with Rothgar again. I feel like
Yes.
it's writing itself right now.
Yeah, I think that's also one of the things I had mentioned to Joy. I have a really close relationship with Rothgar. He just, I don't know how to describe it. I mean, I think everyone's got a close
Yeah.
relationship with him, but I think that because May's got no like family outside of Mike
Mhm.
there in town, and with Florence and Ned, they don't have their kids around. I'm like, I think it'd be kind of nice to see a family dynamic with an adult and two adult parents too, and
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
that type of relationship could be kind of quite nice as well. And Because we see the parental figure when it comes to Judge Avery with Little Jack or something, or you see Lily and Faith, right? But
Mhm.
like, what about like the relationship between adults and their adult parents? Maybe
Yeah.
I think that'd be kind of interesting, and we'll
Hmm.
see.
For
Yeah.
sure. So outside of Mike and May, season 14, do you have a storyline that you're excited to see where it goes?
Well, obviously, I think everyone has the same. I want to know what happens with Nathan and Elizabeth. I think everybody does. I want to know if Fernando comes back. I want to know if Faith finds somebody, or maybe, she doesn't, and that's okay too. I
Hmm.
want to know if Fiona comes back. I want to know what happens with Lori and how that's going to shake up the town. I
Yeah.
really want to know how that's going to all pan out. I want to know if Lori and
Henry, little,
Gowan. Yeah,
yes.
exactly. If there's going to be something there, I want to know how, you know, Melissa Gilbert and Jack Wagner's characters respond to them. Because, I feel like there's so
Hmm.
many
And we've got
powerful,
Edie and Lucas now too. So,
exactly. So many strong relationship and couples and so many things going on that,
hmm.
yeah, I'm so interested to see how all of that goes.
Hmm. What's Lucas going to do now that he's not going to be governor, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's also a good question. I think
Hmm.
also one of the things is that he was supposed to move away and now he's back in town. And so
Yeah.
how's that all gonna shake up?
Hmm.
And yeah, and I want to see what happens with Edie if she like kind of incorporates into the town more, what kind of role she plays then. Yeah.
Will we get more of the friendship dynamic between her and Faith and May? That'll be fun to see.
Yeah. That would be
Yeah.
fun to see. I also
And
want to know
even
where she lives.
what?
I
Say
want to know
again.
where she lives because like she has the ranch. Does she have a huge house and none of us have been invited? I want to know that.
She lost the ranch in the fire, right? So
Yeah.
she's got to have who's living now above, now that Mike and May got back into that house, who's living above? Is it just Faith and Lily? Is there a
It's just
room up
Faith
there
and
for
Lily, I
her?
believe. Yeah, there was a room up there because Lily took Fiona's room, and my room is now vacant. So maybe
Okay.
they move up there. Yeah,
We'll see what happens. And I don't even think we know where Lucas lives, so,
yeah. No, who knows? Maybe in the
who
saloon
knows?
permanently. Yeah, he probably has a huge house too somewhere.
Oh my. Well, Amanda, this has been so much fun to talk to
Yeah,
you, to catch up on season 13. Always fun to talk to you. Loved so many of the stories between May this season, May and Mike. It'll be fun to see, will Maisie be back next season?
yeah.
What will that dynamic look like? So many different things that we can dream about and wonder. And, always good to catch up with you. I always love following along with the bunny stories and knowing and more intrigued to hear. Or maybe you should start making like food videos in the off, like just like how to this whole meal prepping that you were talking about too. That
Oh
might be a
yeah, I'd want to do that. Or you know what? I was while I was filming because when I was doing the food videos, there it was during filming time too,
yeah.
and so Ben was like, let's do a video together, and if you want, and I'm like, absolutely, that'd be so nice. And then Kevin was like, Kayla and I would like to join too one day, and I'm like, yes, that'd be great. And I'm like, that'd be so fun to have them all join in, but life is going to be really
Oh
busy
yeah.
for the next little bit for them. So I'm not even asking yet, but,
Yeah.
and I haven't even been filming them myself, but yeah, it would be so nice. And, or also just to do like a video, maybe even with the catering
Oh
on
yeah.
set with the dog. And I don't know, we'll see how it goes. It's just been
Well,
really nice to have her
mhm.
around and to do these things.
Absolutely. Always fun for us to watch. So it's fun for
Oh,
us. We've got 9 months out of the year where we're like, okay, what are we going to do until the next season? So to have those little moments where we can stay connected to you guys and are just fun for us. So
yeah.
anyway, well, I want to remind everybody that's watching or listening that there are more When Calls the Heart interviews still coming. I know this season is wrapped, but so many times we don't get a chance to talk with everybody. So fortunate that cast and crew like Amanda are still hanging on with us even after this season has wrapped. So be watching for those. And Amanda, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.